What is up, listeners, and welcome to another episode of American Werewolves. We're your host, me, Jerry.
And me, Brandon.
We'll talk about all forms of horror media that we come across. That's movies, TV, books, video games, other horror podcasts. If it's horror related and we experience it, we're going to discuss it. And today, we are going to discuss a phenomenal movie that I forced Brandon to go see, and I highly recommend everybody else go see it.
He held me at gun. You held me at gunpoint for this one.
So recently, I saw a movie called "It's a Wonderful Knife," and oh man, it was a movie, and it was such a movie that I called Brandon immediately after, and absolutely begged him to go watch this film because he needed to sit there and experience what I had just experienced for an hour and 27 minutes. For those of you who have never heard of the film, It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas, or It's a Wonderful Life, no. It's a Wonderful Knife is a Christmas horror comedy in which our protagonist, Winnie Carruthers, is that how you pronounce her last name?
Carruthers.
Our protagonist, Winnie Carruthers, she rescues her town, Angel Falls, from a serial killer dubbed the Angel. A year later, Winnie is scarred from the event, and everyone likes to pretend it didn't really happen, and they kind of just all want to move on. Her mother even says to her at one point in the film, I think it's her mom who says it, why do you want to relive that? After Winnie's like, how could you guys just pretend like nothing happened? It's the dad? Okay. So the dad, played by Joel McHale. He asked her, why would you want to relive that when she's upset that nobody else remembers, or not that nobody remembers, but they pretend like they don't. So later that night, Winnie wishes that she was never born, and then finds herself in this alternate reality where she, in fact, was never born, and things aren't exactly better.
Yes, they are much, much worse in every way, shape, and form.
I'm just going to do just a quick review, and then we'll go into the nitty-gritty of the issues with the film, because there are a lot more issues than there are positives.
Yeah. This is spoiler-free segment right now. We're going to just break down how we felt about this film, and then we'll let you know when we get to the spoilery stuff. Yeah. If you really care that much. And
if you really want to experience it the way it should be.
We're going to break down the things that happen in this movie. You go ahead, Jerry. Go on. Let's see where we're at.
So, the film is easily the worst film to release this year. It may be one of the worst films I've ever seen. It may be in that bracket. The trailer itself, before watching the film, I was scrolling through Fandango and I saw it and I watched the trailer. The trailer itself is horrible. But I still had a little bit of hope. I wasn't expecting it to be good. I knew going into it was probably going to be not a super great movie, but I was not expecting what I got. It has the same vibe and general concept as something like Freaky, written by the director of Freaky, was it not?
Michael Kennedy. He is the writer of Freaky and Time Cut, whatever that movie is.
So it makes sense.
It's a movie that's not even out yet.
Oh, okay. It makes sense that it has a similar concept, I guess, to Freaky, because it is by written by the same guy. But Freaky executed it way better. Even Freaky, and that's saying it loosely, because I still don't think Freaky executed what it was trying to do very well. Unlike Totally Killer, if you haven't seen Totally Killer, that was done very well. That's a great movie. I had a lot of fun with
Yeah.
that one. Now, the director of this film, he wrote Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes, Tyler McIntyre. He
Okay.
wrote, let's see, he wrote Five Nights at Freddy's, a segment in VHS 99, the film Tragedy Girls, which is also a film he directed. That one actually got a lot of buzz back in 2017 around like the horror film festival circuit. At the time, I haven't seen it yet. It's been on my list.
Like Good Buzz,
Uh,
or
Good buzz, yeah. It's gotten some. It was a. They said it was a nice like throwback style film, or I don't know. They said it was a nice little genre bending horror thriller. That's what I was told. Like they said, it kind of had a little bit of a Scream vibe.
okay.
That's at least how it was pitched to me. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he also directed a segment in VHS 99. He's been around the scene for a minute.
I wasn't expecting this to be worse than Five Nights at Freddy's, but it was. I feel like Five Nights at Freddy's attempted to be a good movie. It was not, but it at least, like, I felt like it attempted one. This film didn't feel like it was trying. Like, it felt, there are so many things wrong with this movie that there's no way that somebody sat in the editing room and was like, "Yep, that's it." I It's very messy.
Yeah, I look. I don't like trashing on people's movies
No.
because it is hard to make a movie.
Yeah.
But that does not excuse you for a lot of the baffling choices that this movie makes. There is some serious what the fuck moments, and not like the fun, cool what the fucks. I'm just like sitting back, moments that took me out of the movie and made me go, "Oh, I'm watching a movie," and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna slow down. I don't want to. I don't want to jump into it.
It was so
Too hard."
bad that, dude, my theater was laughing at, like, how bad it was. Not like at the moments that were supposed to be comedic. They were just
Yeah.
like laughing at moments that should not have been laughed at because they were
Yep.
just so bad.
Mine too.
I guess before we get into the bad parts,
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say this
let's
right now too. Like, I don't like this movie, but it is not the worst horror movie I've ever seen. I think it is one that, if it's on the background, leave it on. But it's the of 2023. It is by far the worst. I think.
yeah. Yeah, so before we go through and just, you know, piece by piece bring out everything wrong with it, let's talk about some good things, the very, very, very few good things there are. The angel is dope. I think the costume for the killer is very cool. I will give them that. And I think there are some performances in the film that are good. Justin Long, obviously, his character was supposed to be, you know, fairly comedic, but Justin Long is always great. His bits were like the one parts that I actually did find genuinely funny, and that's probably just because it's Justin Long and his delivery is great. And it's either pronounced McLeod or McLeod, as Birdie, was actually, I did like her performance. There were some moments where it was like, but I think that was mainly because of the writing and not her performance. She was
Yeah.
also in a show called One of Us is Lying, which I love the book series. I think it's such a good book series that just recently concluded. The show wasn't as good, but it was still a good show, and her performance in the show was very good. So I like her as an actress. But I think those are the only good things I have to say.
Oh man. Yeah, I got some nice things for this one. Which this one I think you'll definitely you. I know you agree with me on this one. The killer, the angel killer, looks awesome.
Yeah,
Very very cool design. Very aesthetically like different from most slashers, where like usually they're just wearing like all black with like a creepy mask and stuff. This was actually a creative look, and I really really liked. I really liked the look of it, of the killer. There are some cool kills from this killer in the film. Mainly one where this guy, it involves this guy just like high as hell at a party, just staring at a light, like not even noticing the killer behind him.
That
We'll
is a
get to
very
that.
cool scene.
Yeah, I thought it was very well done, just well shot and executed. Like that was like, I felt like there was effort put into that sequence,
Yeah.
which was really cool. And the setup is actually pretty intriguing. You know, for the first few minutes, I walked in a little bit late, like I think a minute or two late, so I didn't know exactly what part of the movie I was at, but it kind of like threw me off when I saw what happens in the beginning before the title card pops up. I thought it was really cool. And you know, it seemed like they were gonna play with horror tropes and have some fun with it, very like tongue-in-cheek fun at least. And you know, aside from that, also the actors, at least the main cast, they're fine. I think there are some good actors in here. One of them being Catherine Isabel, who played the aunt.
She was good, yeah.
It was just, yeah, I liked her. She didn't have much to do. It was she played Gib in Freddy vs. Jason, which is one of my favorite horror movies out there. Very guilty pleasure fun for every Halloween, and so it was just cool seeing her again. And you know, this movie also has Justin Long and Joel McHale, and you know, the main chick Jane Whittup, and then Jess McLeod. My bad. Um, you know, I thought they were all fine. They did really good job. They did their best with the material that they were given.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about where the positives end for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the review. So if you want to stick around and not really, care about spoilers, we're gonna get into that bit now. We're gonna talk.
They don't care. They don't care.
Let's talk about everything, or at least everything I could remember, which there was a lot wrong with this movie.
Yeah. There's a lot.
I'll go down the list, and then I guess if I miss any, because I'm gonna go pretty chronologically. So if I skip anything that you may not have, or that you have on yours, go ahead and just stop me.
Right on.
The movie felt, in terms of dialogue, was too goofy. It was too, so in the beginning of the film, Winnie is upset. It's a year later. She has stopped the killer, and she's prevented the angel from killing. And it was a very traumatic experience. And a year later, it's Christmas again. And everyone is celebrating like nothing happened last year. Nobody's talking about it. There's no memorial, whatever. And for Christmas, her parents buy her this pink tracksuit. And
yes, oh my god,
they get her brother a big, like, brand new truck. And they're like, we both got you guys something. When Winnie's upset that she got a tracksuit and her brother got a truck, her parents say that we both got you something that you guys both needed. He needed a truck and you needed a tracksuit. And she's very upset. And it's just too...
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's because I wasn't talking to you, Siri. It's just too goofy. Like, no logical person would be like, that's fair.
Yeah, it's really awkward and clunky. Like, it's like she goes out there presumably because she's upset that her brother got a car over her just getting fucking clothes, and not only clothes, a tracksuit. They basically are just calling her fat without saying it. And which doesn't make sense in on itself because she's not. They're just calling her unhealthy, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's then out of nowhere she just brings up like, why is everyone acting like last year didn't happen? It's like she's mad at the complete wrong thing in the moment, or like, I don't know, like it was like she was waiting for an excuse, and she's like, now's my fucking chance to throw it in their face. Like that's what it felt like. I was like, what do you mean?
Also,
no, yell about the tracksuit.
Even before that, So when we first, not when we first meet her, but very shortly after, Winnie's talking to her best friend, and this is a year prior to when the incident happened, and Winnie doesn't curse, and her friend's like, oh, just say fuck, and she's like, no, I can't. And then, 10 minutes later in this scene where she's fighting with her family over the truck and nobody remembering, she says, what is she says, like, why the fuck can't you guys, or why the fuck are you ignoring what happened, or something like that. I feel like her not cursing, and this is probably just nitpicking a little, mentioning her not cursing could have been like a turning point for her character, and they like drop it and then just kind of use that little bit 10 minutes later into the film, and it just felt very weak to me. She didn't deserve that fuck yet, like, and that's just me nitpicking. But moving on, unless you have more to add to that.
No, it's really awkward and clunky, like most of
Okay,
the dialogue and scenes in this movie. Like, it's, it
we'll
seems
get
like
more into
everyone
the
is acting.
dialogue.
It seems like everyone is acting in a completely different movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It also looks like Joe McHale doesn't want to be there. He just seems like he's just saying his lines. I just saw Joel from Community just kind of being like, I need, you know, I just want to go home. I feel like the actors were really trying for the most part in some scenes, and then other scenes it was like they were phoning it the hell in. And from great actors too that I've seen in other projects before. Justin Long, we'll get more to why I'm not really a fan of his character, but like while he had some really awkward lines to deliver, he had like some really questionable choices, like his accent for one. Did he not sound like Zoolander?
I've never seen Zoolander.
What the hold on. God
Yeah, I've
damn,
never
hold on.
seen it.
Okay. I'm gonna send you a quick clip right now and you're gonna hear it. And trust me when I say this, Jerry, when you hear Ben Stiller talking, you are not gonna be able to not hear it anymore.
Well, there are a couple of little butterflies in my basket, but I think we're doing okay. We also hear you're working on a new look. Can you tell us about it? Actually,
A little bit, yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, like it's like the lisp, like he's got that lisp going on.
Yeah.
It's pretty. That's all I could think of every time I heard him speak.
Yeah, I don't think, I feel like even if I did watch Zoolander, I wouldn't have picked up on that so much, but I can hear it, yeah. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, like I don't know. It was pretty cool, and I can't help but like Justin Long, but he made some acting choices that I gotta look at him and be like, what were you trying to do here? Like I was a little confused.
I think but I also think he knew what he was doing. Like, he knew what
Yeah,
this
I think
movie was.
Yeah, he knew. I think he was really just trying to ham it up and have fun with it. Like he was just like, fuck it, we're in a really weird slasher movie.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna get weird with it.
The movie picks up and we get, not picks up, it moves along. And we get the first death, which is a practical effect shot of an old man's throat being slit. And
Oh yeah, this
my
is the
God,
opening.
it's
That was
oh
bad.
is it oh it's the first.
It's the very first kill before the title card even comes on.
Okay, so this is before Winnie loses her mind over the car. Yeah, the first kill
Yeah.
of the film is a practical shot of a guy's throat being slit, and it's so bad.
Yeah, one, his throat is already slit before the knife goes all the way across. I was like, you can't be serious.
It looks. I need you to watch this movie just for that scene if you're listening. It's that. I knew right when that happened. I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be this movie. This is what we're gonna be going through. So that was bad. Fast forward again. Winnie goes to this party. This is also before the year where she, loses her mind. We're introduced to Birdie, who I did like as a character. And everybody is so mean to Birdie. Like, she's the weirdo of the school, and everybody's calling her, that's her nickname, Weirdo. Bernie does nothing in this film
She
to be considered the
does.
weirdo or the weird girl.
She
Like, she's a perfectly normal human being, and I don't understand why she is deemed the weirdo. She doesn't give
They
any
never
reason
give
to
a
be considered
reason.
that.
They
Never.
never. Oh,
She's
it was so weird. One, it was weird. I don't know, like the way like the high school actors and characters talk, like the way they spoke, it was just so dumb. I don't know. I was not a fan of it. I was like, people in high school don't talk like that. I don't know.
the dialogue
The
was like Disney Channel bully dialogue. It was like an adult wrote it, and someone was like, "Is that how kids talk?" And he was like, "I don't know." Like, that's
Yeah. I I don't get it. Literally, Birdie is just sitting there looking for people to talk to,
she's
and
just minding her
everyone's
own
just calling her
business.
weird.
And then after
They
that,
made her weird. They made her weird.
yeah,
You know that? Like, she was not weird.
after
They made
that,
her that way.
someone throws a cup at her head with what is presumably beer or water, whatever. And her hair is wet
Yeah,
because the
that was
contents
mean.
of the cup hit her. And the very next shot that we see of her, she's completely dry. It's just
Is she?
she's completely dry in the very next shot. And that was just that's again nitpicking, but it's just something I picked up on that was like, what the fuck?
Shudder made this movie, right?
What happened? Shudder, yeah.
Yeah, or they're at least like at least distributing it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it seemed like a movie that was just going to be on Shudder, and that was it. But they found extra money, and they were like, "We could push this to the theater."
There's a kill where a couple is kissing and the girlfriend's like, "Oh my god, what did you eat?" And you see a shot of him and he's like, blood is pouring out of his mouth, and that's because a candy cane was shoved through the back of his skull. Like, to shove something through.
You cannot have a Christmas slasher without a candy cane kill. I'm just gonna throw that in there right now.
Yes, obviously, but like, for them, there's some force to push something through somebody's skull. How did that knock them forward? Like, it's in there as if it just like magically appeared.
You don't even hear a grunting or a cry or
Yeah, it just happens to be there. When Winnie kills Henry Waters, Justin Long's character, who is the mayor of the town and just so happens to be revealed to be the killer, during that first killing spree that he does, she kills him by taking jumper cables and attaching them to him and electrocuting him. Why was there just a car battery hooked up somewhere at the back of this house, and why was it connected to the house on the lights? I'm no electrician, but something doesn't seem right there.
yeah, like were they using the car to power the generator or something? Like
I
I don't know.
it's just conveniently there. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But yeah,
So
Justin Long is revealed to be the killer in the very beginning of this film before the title card even pops up. And then in this alternate reality, he still sounds very sketchy. And they try to play it off like. They kind of try to play it off a little bit too that he isn't the killer. Or like, oh yeah, he's acting shady, but like, is he for sure the killer? Blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
At least I felt like they were attempting to do that.
So now getting back on track and fast forwarding a year later, Henry's brother Buck runs into Winnie while she's walking with her family outside. He corners her while her family's there, just standing there.
Yeah, no, the family and the family's not even standing there. They just kept walking.
Oh
They're
yeah,
not
they just
even
walk
there anymore.
off.
They don't. No one looks back, and they're like, "Oh, where's Winnie?"
Winnie? He like corners her because he's upset that she killed his serial killer brother, and he's like, "I'll fucking end you" or something. He says something along those lines, and it's so like such an out of pocket like serious moment that is delivered so horribly that, dude, my theater just starts laughing.
Really, they laughed that hard.
Yeah, it was bad. So when he goes to this party later, a year later, And she finds her boyfriend and this other person from school hooking up, and her boyfriend's excuse is, "Oh, you've been absent. You haven't noticed that we've been doing this for a year." What? That's not how some you just got caught. That's how you're gonna react. You're gonna be like, "Oh, it's been a year." Like it. So that dialogue just felt very not what would happen to me. So she runs off from there, and she's like, there's the aurora borealis above her. I think I pronounced that right. She's like, I wish I was never born. And she winds up in this alternate reality where she was never born, and because she was never born, she never stopped Henry Waters when he first went on his killing spree. And so she gets chased by the killer, and Henry Waters shows up. You know, she tells Buck, who is Henry Waters' brother, is now the sheriff, and he sees her, and he's getting a police report from her, and she's like, I know who the killer is. And Henry Waters shows up, and she's obviously not going to say, hey, I know you're the killer. So she says, oh, never mind, I don't know what I was talking about. But then she looks at him and goes, oh yeah, the killer was about your height, Mayor. Like teasing him that she does know. And just as a decision of survival for me, like you know this guy's the killer, and you were like, hey, never mind, actually I'm not going to corner myself here. I don't know who the killer is. And then you decide to just like poke at him because you do know. It just felt like a very strange dialogue choice to me. She finds her home after that, and her family, she just walks in, and nobody seems to be like put off that this stranger is in their house. Like she knows it's her family, but she was never born, so they don't know who she is. And everyone's kind of just like, hey, what are you doing in here? Nobody seems to be weirded out that she's in there. And then she goes back to the party where she caught her boyfriend cheating. Apparently, Winnie never being born turns everybody into a crackhead because everybody's doing it. Everybody's
it's
smoking
straight
crack.
up meth. No, it's meth, dude. It's straight up just meth, like meth pipe galore. It was like Breaking. It was a scene from Breaking Bad. That's what
It's
it was.
everyone.
Everyone loves meth in this reality. Like, no, they can't smoke weed now. They gotta smoke meth. And it makes sense. There's a killer running around, and he seems to kill people on a whim, like once every few weeks or so.
Yeah, can we talk about that? He kills every 2 weeks.
And they're just like, yeah.
That's what happens. Like, nobody's moved.
Like, no one's left. No one's figured out.
So, and we're going to revert back to that later at the end. Winnie and Birdie then run off after the angel strikes at the party. And this, because Winnie's never been born, this is the first time Birdie meets her. And Winnie says to Birdie, I know who the killer is. We have to stop him. And Birdie looks at the stranger and goes, follow me. What? She has a solution? Like, she doesn't know this person. And then Winnie and Birdie, this relationship just starts to develop, but it just doesn't make sense. They didn't, even when Birdie, or when Winnie had been born, in the actual reality, they didn't really know of each other's existence. So where does this relationship come from? There's no reason for it to spark. So why they like each other, I don't get it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Birdie in the house, Birdie's like, hey, how can I trust you? Because you just so happen to show up when the killer conveniently shows up and starts killing everybody. So how do I know that you're not the killer? The killer just so happens to conveniently smash through Birdie's window at that point in time so that Winnie doesn't have to explain herself. Why? I don't get why the killer is going after these teenagers when the reason that they say the killer, like Henry Waters, is killing people is so that there's no competition. Nobody runs against him as mayor. Why is he killing a bunch of teenagers? That just doesn't make sense to me.
No sense. Like, he did what he needed to do in the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah. There's no reason for him to continue killing.
There's none.
So Birdie works at a movie theater, and they go into this movie theater to escape because that's the one safe place that they can go. And Winnie falls asleep, and Birdie's like, "Hey, I couldn't sleep, but come here. I put this together." And she goes upstairs into the projector room, and Birdie has a whole wall of documents that she randomly found, explaining how Winnie was sent into this reality, which the explanation doesn't make sense. Like,
It is very bizarre.
it's that the spirit of Henry Waters, when Winnie killed him in her reality, sent her through to this reality through the Aurora Borealis, which it doesn't make sense. That doesn't explain it. How does that explain
Yeah,
it?
it's like, well, explain that. Like,
Yeah, okay, sure. If that's what happened,
this is
explain
common knowledge.
Yeah, like, oh yes, of course, duh. Why didn't I think of that? So Winnie and Birdie go back to Winnie's home to convince her aunt that she's family. She doesn't give her aunt any fucking reason to believe her. She tells her aunt, the classic, "Oh, we've met, but you don't know that we've met, so I'm going to tell you this thing that only I would know." But Winnie is claiming something crazy here. Winnie is saying, "Hey, I am the unborn daughter of the guy in that house and your unborn niece in an alternate reality." And she's just like, "Okay, yeah, cool, that's it."
She's like, well, it makes sense. So, like,
Yeah.
where do we go from here?
Yeah. So then, here's one of my favorite scenes. She goes upstairs and talks to her dad, and he tells her essentially to get the fuck out of his house. He's very angry, and he tells her to leave. So she walks out of his office. His office door is wide open, and she stands just a couple of feet from the doorway of the office and has a conversation with Birdie. It's like, it's right outside the door after he tells her to get out, and he's not
Yeah.
like, "Hey, let me make sure you get out of my house." Like, he's just like, "All right, if you're in the hallway, it's fine."
Well, he has to prep for what happens in the next scene. That's why,
Yeah, he went into the closet to go change really quick, because it turns out that Winnie's dad is actually the killer in this reality, which is predictable.
It is so, yeah, because one, just by the mere fact of casting Joel McHale and Justin Long, they're not just gonna have small bit parts and just be in the background. Like, they're
Yeah.
gonna play some major role into the story. Like, you don't get those actors for side piece roles.
Yeah, I very much like when he starts attacking them, and they're downstairs in the kitchen, and her aunt is on the floor, and she's like, "Come on, we need to run." And her aunt starts running, and then she just stands there staring at the killer, like waiting for him to attack. Like, she just freezes in place. And then when they learn that it's her dad, she's like, I think she says, "The killer," like, I think Birdie's like, "The killer's your dad?" And then he goes, "Told you I'm not your dad," or something like that. And he just shuts the door on them. Like, he doesn't try to continue what he started. He just closes the door. He's like, "All right, they're out of my house. I'm done." Like, we run into Winnie's boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend now, and Darla, who he was cheating on her. And their dialogue, it's so horrible. They're supposed to be like this couple that's so in love, and it's like very obnoxious, like goo goo talk to each other, and it's so cringy. Like, it's very hard to sit through. But it's cool because they get killed.
Yes, it's awesome.
They set up a signs on the theater outside to tell her dad. It says like "Merry Christmas, David" or something like that, which is her dad's name.
Right.
He's at home. Why would he know that sign is calling him?
I guess he's just like, for when he's driving around, like searching, and then
He
like, "Oh, wait,
closed the
is it
house
me?"
door on them, though. He decided he wasn't gonna run after them anymore.
Wait. Oh, like, I thought you meant by the theater when they posted it up outside.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that sign is up there, but who's to say that he's running around the neighborhood looking for them, because he had them and he shut the door on them and he told them to just leave.
He just popped up and he was like, "Oh, that's for me."
Yeah, he's like, oh,
Also,
okay.
but can we talk about the fucking reveal in this moment? Like, did you mention that yet?
Where it's revealed to be him?
No, the why it's him this time.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, because so here's my story. So maybe you can fill in the blanks for me. After the scene in the house when Joel McHale is, kicks him out and stuff, after it's revealed he's the killer, I turned to my friend that I dragged to go see this movie with me because I was not going to go by myself. And I said, I'll go into the bathroom. I'll be right back in like a minute or two. Go in, do my thing, come back. I'm like, what I miss? And they're like, oh, nothing. Justin Long is possessing Joel McHale. What?
No, I don't think
What?
he's...
Or no, he's influencing. My friend explained into that, but he broke it down saying basically the way they said it is that he was influencing Joel McHale because of the Aurora Borealis.
Something like that. Yeah, he's influencing Joel
What?
McHale. He's not like possessing, but like after
Well, for what
he
happens
kills...
later at the end of this movie, it kind of
Yeah.
feels like possessing by the end, but we'll get to that.
After he kills Joel McHale's only son, only kid, Joel McHale realizes something or something along those lines. But like, he's like, yeah, you killed my kid, but I'll do your bidding. Like, it's just so... Oh, man. But Joel McHale dies.
Just like, yeah.
They kill him.
Yeah,
and
he
they
goes to
go
the theater, a very terrible chase sequence, except for one cool shot where the lights were flashing and you saw like the...
That was very cool. That's another pro.
The people falling behind the scene. Yeah, that's the thing that I think pisses me off more is that there's a lot of really cool ideas in this movie.
The general concept of it is very good.
Yeah, it's like I saw what they were going for, but it's like it just it feels like they didn't care to try.
It could have been so good.
Yeah, like at least a really fun Christmas slasher that people can watch every holiday season.
Yeah.
Fun for the whole family.
But they, but they kill him, and they find that they go back to the Aurora Borealis, and she's like, I want to go home. And the movie suddenly becomes very heavy because Birdie's like, and it's not funny, but it's just so out of left field. And Birdie's like, this was going to be my last Christmas. And it's like, whoa, what? Like, they cover...
Birdie, slow down.
Yeah, they cover such heavy material out of nowhere. Like, she starts talking about how she was going to commit suicide, and it's like, Jesus Christ, okay. I get it. Like, everybody's being mean to her, but, like, the way that the movie was going, so... I felt like that scene would have worked a lot better if the movie was good. But
yeah.
It felt like a scene that could have been really good, but because of everything else that had happened before it already, it just felt weird.
Very strange.
But she's not sent back. Winnie's not sent back home, and they're like, why? And then they realize, oh, because David isn't the real killer at the end of the day. It is still Henry Waters, and they still have some unfinished business. So they go to this, and here's the kicker. Here's where everything decides to stop making sense officially. Things didn't make sense before, but now they're really not going to make sense. They go to a public ceremony that Henry Waters is holding, where everybody, their eyes are like glowing the same color as the Aurora Borealis. So he's got some supernatural hold on them that they never explain. Don't explain why he's got these supernatural powers.
Never go into it.
They don't even like hint to it. They don't say, he doesn't be like, I got this because I found this crystal, or like nothing. It is never talked about.
I would have at least liked the crystal. Something,
Yeah.
Instead we just get everyone with blue fucking eyes.
Yeah. It could have been like the angel on top of the tree is how he holds his power, and that's why he's the angel. Like, it could have been something like that.
That sounds fucking awesome. At least, no, it sounds terrible, but for this movie, it sounds awesome. It fits,
It would have fit, right. The other thing that doesn't make sense, aside from the random supernatural aspect of it, is he is publicly killing people in this ceremony. So where is the mystery of who the killer is? Because people are watching him murder people on stage. So why has it been a year and every 2 weeks this serial killer comes and takes somebody out and nobody knows who it is? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, this movie just feels like someone had one draft and they were like, "Cool, let's just make it. We need something."
Yeah. And we're coming to an end here because the movie ends very shortly after that.
Yeah,
They kill him and Winnie is sent back and nobody, it's as if nothing ever happened. She never left her original reality. Everything is great again, except she goes to Winnie's house because she's like, "Oh, that's right. Winnie's about to unalive herself. I need to go."
you mean Bernie?
Bernie, yes, I'm sorry. Birdie is about to unalive herself. I need to go. And so Winnie runs to Birdie's house and she's like, "Birdie, your life matters. Don't do this, blah, 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 blah." And Birdie remembers everything.
How?
They don't explain why, but nobody remembers anything that happened except for Birdie. So here's the thing. It doesn't make sense because she was in an alternate reality, right?
Yeah.
So did she swap places? Is the Birdie from the original reality in this fucked up reality now? What happened? It doesn't. I don't understand. They don't give any explanations.
I remember people like actually like talking, kind of going like, "What the hell?" Like throughout that moment at the end of the theater, like some were me and my friend were laughing. People were just going like, "What the fuck?" right next to me. Like it was just like a weird time for everyone.
Yeah, and that's basically the movie. Here's what I will say. There was a message in the film, and the message is that just one life means so much, and you don't realize how much one life can affect everything else around it. And maybe they weren't trying to be that deep. Maybe I just plucked that out. Now, not plucked it out is very clearly stated in the film, but maybe that's not what they were trying to go for in terms of spreading a message. But I did find that message, and I thought it was a very beautiful message of how everybody has a purpose in life, and they affect so many other lives around them, and without that person so many other people will be affected, and it's such a beautiful message. But it was so poorly done. It was so bad.
You know what's really upsetting is like I know these creatives have like made so many things that are like way better than this, and it's like phoned in completely from everyone around. For the most part, you know, like the actors, you know, they're trying their best, but their best wasn't enough. They needed to do better, but they couldn't because everything else was not working. It just did not work. It seemed like this movie really desperately needed a few more rewrites before going into shooting.
Quite a few more.
Yeah. The message I got from this movie is that if you have a serial killer running around, everyone's going to do meth. But yeah, it's a wonderful knife.
If you've made it this far, I promise you what we explained is nowhere near the experience of watching this movie.
Go see it. It's gonna be on Shudder.
Go watch it. Yeah, it'll be on Shudder.
That about wraps it up for this episode, I think. We hope all of you who are still listening, all 2 or 3 of you, really enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed talking about it, honestly.
It was fun, and if you are still here, stick around for the next one, where it's either going to be Thanksgiving or Black Christmas. We'll see.
Yeah.
But thank you if you are still here. We've had fun talking about it. We hope you have had fun listening, and we hope to see you again.
If you have any suggestions or recommendations of what we should talk about, message us on the Instagram at American Werewolves, and we will see if we can get to it. Until then, this is Brandon.
And this is Jerry.
Stay spooky.
Trouble.